what good would it have done them, because by the time they have read it, it's already changed 3 times with the next proposals. So all the cost studies we do, the cost estimates, the reports, the testimony, everything's about it. So we looked at it and said, nobody cares, right? Nobody cares about CBO. We're low risk, so why do we want to spend any money on security? And we weren't. You know, we were doing firewalls, we were doing just basic intrusion detection and stuff like that. And then we found out that you have to do that. And so lesson 1, risk assessment is a recurring process. It's not something that you can do one time and think that you're cool, that everything is good. You got to keep looking at what you're doing, how you're doing it, why you're doing it, and it's a continual process. So the message is, regardless of how big you are, how important you think you are, your function exists for a reason, and you are a target. We're a target. Everybody's a target. If you're part of the government, state, local, it doesn't matter. People are out there to try to either find out what you're doing and take advantage of it. They can't get to you, or they're not interested in you. They're interested in who you know. So you're a stepping stone from you to someone else. If they happen to get some data from you out of that process that they can use, well, so much better. So it's a win-win situation. Whatever they can do, they're going to try to do it. And I guess the message is that a lot of times you might think that I'm not important, or things that we do. Like our mantra was, well, who cares? We're going to give it to you anyway. So why would you want to come in and steal it? Even if you're smart, like at the division level, unit level, whatever, you exist for a reason. And people want to find out what that is. They want to take advantage of it. If nothing else, if you are the weak link in the chain, they're going to go after the weak link in the chain. So don't make that you, make it somebody else, so they'll go after them and take it. And I guess you make it even personal. You heard Rocky Young talk last night. They're after you, not only your unit, they're after you. I mean, they're after your kids, they're after your spouse, they're after who you know, any way that they can define to get you. I mean, Rocky was saying he's just going to do it to mess with you. Well, these people are really serious. They're not here to mess with you. They're here to infiltrate you and get your stuff. So how do you counter that? And that's kind of the problem. You don't know, what you don't know. I think the most important thing that we learned in our involvement with this is that clearance is absolutely essential. If you have anything to do with security, anything to do with IT management, anything to do with approving budgets about security, anything, vendors, what's out there, what's in the press scares you, once you have a clearance, it'll just completely turn your head white and you'll go bald. That's not There's pluses and minuses with clearances. But anyway, and even once you have it, you really have to make an effort to use it. The information doesn't necessarily come to you. You have to go out and get it. And it's really, really important that you do that. There are conferences out there. You can get information from U.S. CERT. You can get hopefully information if you're military. But man, I say, it's really important that you get that information. The other thing that's important is peer networks. They're absolutely vital, and I think everybody sees that's more so than it used to be. It used to be that people were really concerned about not letting others know what's happening to them. I don't want to get embarrassed. I want you to find out that we failed, that somebody got into our network, that this is going on and we weren't able to detect it or whatever. It's more and more important that information gets to your peers, that they know what's going on, because if it's happening to you, it's happening to them. And vice versa. If it's happening to them, hopefully they tell you so that you can keep it from happening to you. So it's really critical that you exchange that. And it's also important you talk to vendors. I mean, this whole thing, this weekend is super important. And a lot of times you talk to a vendor and you'll find out that they have some solution or some unique way of attacking a problem that you haven't thought of. And you can bring that in and you can take advantage of it. So talk to the vendors and figure out what they're doing. It's also important that you know your environment and you know your architecture. The physical architecture, the networks, the data set, I mean, that's what you're trying to protect. And if you don't know it, you can't protect it. So the more you know about it, the better off you're going to be. It's also important that you know the business side. I mean, in IT, one of the things that we have, particularly in a small agency, you really get down in the weeds and you really start focusing on what you're doing. And sometimes you kind of lose sight of what the analysts are doing. But that's what's important. I mean, those are the guys that are generating all the information. They're the ones that are doing the work. And it's important from the security side to know what's going on, because if they're doing something like health analysis that has a very high visibility, it's going to have a higher probability of attracting attention and generating more activity. So now with all of that, what about that? The way I look at the problem of security is a set of tasks and tools. And one of the things I think is really important is at the roundtable I was at, Robert Breeze said that with the security thing, you have to fight to win. And the thing that does that for you is looking at it as a strategy, not as a set of tactical actions. If you're fighting this from a tactical perspective, you're going to lose. You really have to have a strategy to try to go into it and understand what's going on and defend against it. So the tasks that are kind of associated with this are defending, detecting, and remediating. It should be fairly obvious. I think probably the most important thing I'll tell you is that the first thing that you're going to do is try to defend, and you will absolutely 100% fail at it. There is no way that anybody's going to be successful at defending against the types of attacks that are out there 100% of the time, every time. So you're trying to keep bad guys out. You have to use, well, one of the things we found is, or that Louis has seen, is if you're a lot of tools that you're looking at are certification, accreditation, FISMA, protecting the perimeter, you're going to fail miserably, because that stuff is just completely inadequate for protecting a network anymore. You have to have defense in depth. You got to have a lot of, you got overlapping systems. The way that you go about that, you have to have somebody dedicated to it that understands what's going on and has a very good peer network so they can stay at the speed on it. Detecting is probably the most important thing that I think you can do, because again, they are going to get in your network, they are going to break your defenses, and all you can really hope to do is to figure that out before they do some real harm. I forget who was the guy from US CERT yesterday was talking, and he said that Einstein is not a silver bullet, and that's exactly right. So you have to have multiple systems looking at defending or detecting, try to figure out what's going on. And even if you do that well, even if you can detect everything and you think you've got everything reasonably well done, the bad guys are, if you're not doing it well, they're going to send a B team after you. Because you're easy to penetrate, you're not going to catch up what's going on, they don't need to devote a lot of time and resources to you. Even if you start doing it well, then they're just going to send the A team after you. So you got to do it even better. And one of the lessons, or the things that we heard, is that what you should be doing is defending against the A team. What you're doing is spending time and effort going after the noise levels, the nuances, the antivirus and things like that. That's really noisy. But if you're defending against the A-level attacker, then you really don't have to worry about the other ones. And so try to put the resources where it matters the most. And the last part of it is remediation. What we primarily do is if we find something that's infected, we just get rid of it. But remediation is super important. You have to have a strategy about getting rid of the bad stuff once you detect it. And if it's severe enough, your only recourse may be completely forklifting everything and starting over, and nobody really wants to do that, and it has happened. The challenges to all this is things like remote access, which is more complicated. Social media, in our case we have an open